Welcome to Rock Your Block and today's segment of Cooking with Chef Lynnette. I am your host, Lynnette Jackson of Lynnette's Cakes and Catering, and we have a fantastic show for you today. Today we are going to prepare a restaurant quality meal in the comforts of your own home. We will start with the rich and flavorful cream of crab soup, followed by a chicken breast with a tarragon and Dijon mustard sauce, and we'll finish it off with a quick and easy chocolate mousse. So we're going to start with the chocolate mousse. The whole goal of this is to get everything ready at the same time so that you can eat and not have to wait for anything. So we're going to start with the chocolate mousse. It's quick and easy. And I say that to say, you're not going to make a traditional mousse where you may have to start with eggs or gelatin or anything like that. This is just fabulous in 5 minutes mousse, okay? So we're going to start with instant chocolate pudding, which I already have in the bowl, just one package of it, and 1.5 cups of milk, whole milk. And I want you to note that on most packages of pudding, it says to add 2 cups, but we're only going to do 1.5 cups, which actually heightens the chocolate flavor a little bit and makes it a little bit more chocolatey, just like a mousse would be. So you're just going to whisk it up, just for about maybe 1 minute. And it's interesting to note that if you wanted to do a different flavor like lemon or strawberry or pistachio, in the store I've even seen butterscotch pudding, which would be fabulous. You can always substitute that for the chocolate, just whatever you like. Or even vanilla, that would be great too. Okay. So I'm just gonna whisk it up just like so. And we're already halfway done. We're gonna put this in the refrigerator. And later on, right before we serve it, we're gonna fold in a non-dairy whipped topping, and it'll be chocolate mousse. So let's put this in the fridge, and we're gonna get ready for our next item. So the next thing that we're going to start is the cream of crab soup. The crab soup is nice and creamy and rich, and you have the sweet crab meat in there, a little bit of shallots and cream and white wine. I mean, everything in the soup or about this soup is great. So the first thing we're going to start with is a shallot and 1 stalk of celery. If you don't have shallot, go get some. I say that because shallots have a sweeter taste than a regular onion would, so you don't want to try to substitute. With a cream-based soup like this or something like a quiche that you would use shallots in, you really want to make sure you have a milder flavor because cream-based soups, you know, they're mild. You don't want anything that's going to be too heavy. So while I'm cutting up my shallots, one is trying to get away, and my celery, let's go ahead and start melting our butter. We have a 1/2 stick of butter here, and then we'll continue with our shallots and our celery. So for the shallot, you're going to peel it like you would an onion. I like to just cut both ends off. Just toss those away. Or if you're making like a nice vegetable broth, I wouldn't toss those. I would use those in my vegetable broth. The thing about chefs and cooks, you try to use everything. You don't want to throw anything away. So just going to peel it. Your hands will smell like onions afterwards, but you can wash them. It's okay. Some people actually use lemon or salt on their hands to kind of get the smell off. Just going to peel it like this. And like I said, shallots are a little bit of a sweeter taste. They also have a hint of garlic taste to them. And you'll notice the difference in your soup. So we're just going to slice it down like this. And I'll turn this way so you can see. And then across. Be careful with your fingers when you're chopping. You want to just kind of peel them back a little bit. When you finish chopping, you want 5 fingers, not 4. So you want to be very careful. So you have 1 piece. And just 1 shallot is enough for this soup. I'm going to cut your second one. Just kind of small dice. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going for tasty, not perfection. Cooking should be fun. So for your celery, let me move this out the way so you can see. You just want to cut strips, kind of like this. Looks like a little broom. And then you just want to go straight across. You know what, I'm going to show you something really quickly. If you notice, my cutting board is sliding. What you want to do is take a towel just like this, or a wet paper towel. Take it just like this. You put this on top, and you'll be fine. Watch this. The board is not moving at all. So you always want to remember that. I should have remembered, but it's a good thing I didn't because you learn something new. Alrighty, so you have this cut up, and then we're going to take this and add it to our butter. And you can hear the sizzle, which means your food is talking to you and saying that I'm going to be delicious. Don't get those peels in there. Alrighty. So that's going to simmer. I'm sorry, saute. So let's grab a spoon, which is right here. One little piece of shell got in. You want to get that guy out of there. So you're just going to stir this up. And it smells good already. These are aromatics, which always make your soup smell good. I just cut on this pan to get it heated up so we can start our chicken. The goal, like I said in the beginning, you want everything to be ready at the same time. So you always have to be thinking ahead. If you notice, I have everything already prepped. That's a big part of cooking. When we were in culinary school, they would call it mise en place, which is everything in its place. And you always want to make sure you have everything ready to go. It makes the process so much easier. You don't want to have to run around and look for anything. Smelling good already. So this is going to saute. It's actually ready now for the next step. Just so it's a little bit soft, almost translucent. We're going to go ahead and add our flour, which is going to make a nice roux. A roux is just a fancy word for a thickening agent. You just want to stir this up just like this. So with the roux, because this is a cream-based soup, you want a nice light roux. You've seen some people probably make gumbo or, a darker soup. What you would do, you would actually let this roux cook for like 30 or 45 minutes till it gets a nice dark brown. And that's how you get the dark color in your soup. But for a cream-based soup like this, you want it to be light just like so. And you're just going to cook it for maybe 30 to 45 seconds just to kind of get some of the flour taste out. And then you start adding your liquid. So right here we have 3 cups of milk, 2 cups of cream, and 2 tablespoons of white wine. Some people use sherry. I stopped because my mom doesn't like the way sherry tastes in the cream of carb soup, so I just changed it for her. So anything for your mama. So you want to slowly add in your liquid, stirring the entire time. And the reason that you're going to stir is because if you do not, you'll have clumps of flour in your soup. The only lumps we want in our soup are our crab meat. So I got one in. I'm going to cut it up just a little bit. I'm going to add this one in. And then we're going to just let this come to a boil. And after it comes to a boil, you'll notice it'll start to thicken a little bit. And then we're going to add our spices and our lump crab meat. And then it's going to be pretty much ready. So for the next thing, we're going to start our chicken. We have this pan heated up, starting to heat up, I'm sorry. And I have it maybe medium high. I'm gonna grab the chicken out of the refrigerator. This right here, we just have 2 chicken breasts that we've cut lengthwise. 1 chicken breast per person is too much, so you wanna cut them in half. You want it to be a portion that, is acceptable for us average people. Season them with salt and pepper on both sides. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to go ahead and add my olive oil. About a tablespoon or 2. Not too much. You don't want it to be greasy. You just don't want your chicken to stick to your pan. So I'm going to flip it over and season the other side with salt and pepper. Don't be afraid to season your food with salt and pepper. The thing about cooking, you really want to season it every step of the way. You don't want to wait until the end and try to season. And I can actually share a story. The other day, we were in the kitchen. My catering assistant was helping me out, and we made rice for a catering event. They forgot to put salt in the rice before we started cooking it. So afterwards, we decided to add the salt, same amount of salt. And the rice was so salty, we had to throw it away. I love that sound. We had to throw it away and start all over again. Food needs to be seasoned from the ground up. You always have to start with a good foundation in anything you do, so that's a good way to remember. Let's get rid of this. Don't want to cross-contaminate anything. So what we're going to do here, we're going to just let the chicken brown on both sides for maybe about 2 to 3 minutes per side. And while it's browning, I'm going to start to prep the ingredients for the sauce. So in the sauce, let me grab my tarragon. Have some tarragon right here. I have a few other ingredients I'll grab in a moment. This is tarragon. It's an herb. A lot of people compare it to licorice, the way it tastes inside of a dish. Tarragon is one of those herbs that if you've never had it before and you taste a dish in it, you're like, what is that? I've never had that before, but it tastes really good. Tarragon is also used sometimes in tea. It helps to calm people for hyperactivity or to help you with insomnia. Some people use it for that. So an interesting fact that I learned recently is that tarragon is part of the sunflower family. Who knew? But I thought that was really, really interesting. So we're just going to peel a few of the leaves off. We don't want too much of the stem. You want to be careful about that. And if you don't use all of your herbs, I've mentioned it before in another show, you just want to rinse them off, wrap the bottoms in paper towels, wet paper towels, and put them in a Ziploc bag. It keeps them alive for a little bit longer. Just think of it as you would a thing of flowers. You want to put the stems into water, so it's the same thing. So we have our tarragon. Let's take our knife. Watch your fingers. And you just want to chop. We need about 2 tablespoons. You can smell it already. The funny thing about tarragon is that when you first start to chop it, you really start to smell it. But before, when you just pull it out, it's not that strong. But right now, as I'm chopping it, it smells so good. And I don't even like licorice. So even though this herb is equated to licorice, it doesn't taste that way in your dish. It really mellows out. Chop a little bit more. I want to make sure we have enough. You don't want to start making your sauce and realize you don't have enough herbs. It's never a good thing. Maybe a little bit more. Make sure we have enough. And just keep an eye on everything. The chicken is looking good. It's starting to get brown. We're going to flip it. All right, so let's push this to the side. Let's check on everything. So we have our soup over here. It's slowly starting to come to a boil. And you really want to watch it because if you don't, it may scorch a little bit. Let's flip our chicken. Chicken will tell you when it's ready to be flipped because it'll release itself from the pan. If it's not ready, it'll stick. And we never want that. Just getting a nice light brown on it. Check our soup again. So when this does come to a boil, we're going to add some spices to our soup. We have a little bit of nutmeg, dry mustard, cayenne, salt, and pepper. And Old Bay seasoning, which I love. I'm from Maryland. What can you do? So we're going to go ahead and add this to our soup. Stir it up. And then we are going to take a short station break. We'll be back after these important announcements, so don't touch that dial.
Food. It nourishes, brings us together, and adds flavor to life. That's why it's important to wash hands, surfaces, and fresh produce. Keep raw meat, poultry, and seafood separate from ready-to-eat foods like fruits and vegetables. And cook to proper temperatures using a food thermometer. Enjoy! And refrigerate leftovers within 2 hours. For more tips on safely preparing foods, visit homefoodSafety.org.
You're watching Rock Your Block and today's segment of Cooking with Chef Lynnette. Welcome back to our kitchen. We're making cream of crab soup, chicken with tarragon and Dijon mustard sauce, and chocolate mousse. As you can tell, the pans are talking to us. Everything is making noise and smelling good, and we're ready to move on. So you can see that our crab soup has come to a nice rolling boil. And we're just gonna cut it down a little teeny bit, just to get it down to a simmer at this point. Once it boils, just let it simmer. If you don't, the flour will start to stick to the bottom of the pan and start to scorch, so you don't want that. We're going to remove our chicken breast, which is perfectly brown. This makes you want to indulge right away, but we have to wait. We need to make the sauce. Let me take it out and then quiet it down. So you don't want to throw away all these pan drippings. You need that. It's a lot of flavor there. So let me just cut it down a little teeny bit. We don't want to burn our scallions when we add them in. So the first thing we're going to do is add more scallion. Noticing the theme here today. I want you to try scallion. And that's why you decided with dishes today that use it, because we're so used to regular onion or green onion. You really want to expand your culinary vocabulary. going to mix that up. And then we're going to go ahead and add our white wine, about a half a cup. And that is going to deglaze the pan, which basically means it's going to pull up all those nice bits that were on the bottom, all that flavor, and it's going to get right into your sauce for your chicken. So we want to bring this to a boil. I'm going to cut it up a little bit, even though I just cut it down. And you want to let it reduce by about half, which will take maybe 1 to 2 minutes. And you can really smell the white wine and the shallots, everything just mixing together. And the little bits of chicken that were in the bottom. Let's stir this again. And you see I'm just bouncing back and forth, making sure everything's coming together. At this point, if you want, you can taste this for salt and pepper. But remember, there is Old Bay, and I use quite a bit of Old Bay in the seasoning mixture for the soup. Actually about 2½ teaspoons, which is just a good amount. Traditionally, cream of crab soup, they're kind of bland in my opinion. Just, my opinion. I think they could use a little bit more flavor, and that's why I like the little bit of cayenne in this, a little bit of nutmeg, the dry mustard powder, and it's not overpowering. It may sound like it, but it's not overpowering. The amount of cream and milk and white wine in this is going to keep it mellow. And then you have to remember that crab is a really mild taste also, so the little bit of seasoning won't hurt at all. What I would do if I were you, if you like a little bit less seasoning, you can always maybe start with 1 teaspoon of Old Bay and then adjust from there. I don't think I told you the right amount of ingredients, but the nutmeg is 1/8 teaspoon, the dry mustard is 1/8 teaspoon, salt is 1/2 teaspoon, pepper is 1/4 teaspoon, and your nutmeg is 1/8 teaspoon, which we call a pinch. It's 1/8 teaspoon. So this is reduced a little bit. We're going to go ahead and add 1½ cup of chicken broth. And 1/2 cup of cream, heavy cream. And the cream is just going to add more richness to your sauce. You don't have to add butter because you have the cream in there. And let's get that going. Let's get that boiling. If you notice, everything is about temperature control. I'm back and forth with boil, simmer, saute. And you really have to be mindful of that because every step of the cooking process is important. And if you mess up on one, it may mess up your dish and all that work will be in vain. So we're going to let that come to a boil. And while that's happening, I'm going to grab the crab for the soup. Grab the crab, that rhymed. So we have 1 pound of lump crab meat, which we've picked over for shells. You just want to make sure there are no little pieces of shell in your crab soup. These are nice lumps. This is actually jumbo lump. You can use regular lump or super lump. It just depends on what you like. We want to dump that in here. Sometimes when I make this, I'll save a little bit of crab just to add a little bit of extra on top. Just want to break that up. And you see how fast this soup came together. I mean, you can be a rock star in 10 minutes in your kitchen, so don't be afraid to try these things. Oh, this smells so good. Oh my goodness, I wish you could smell it. Stir it up. I haven't got quiet because I'm just so into it. And we want to get this one on the other side to a boil. So let's cut it up just a little bit. Because what we're going to do after it boils, we're going to add our tarragon and then add our chicken back. Let it cook for a couple minutes in the sauce and it'll be good to go. So what I want to do, because I have not forgotten about dessert, we're going to go ahead and add our whipped topping to our pudding. So we have our pudding here. And because I like to have a little bit of fun and make entertaining even more exciting, I have some little small graham cracker crusts that you just buy at your local grocery store. I have some mint leaves and I have the whipped topping. So what I'm going to do is simply fold the whipped topping into the pudding that we made when we first started the show. We grab a little spatula here, turn this bad boy down a little bit so he won't burn. We don't want burned soup. Alrighty, you just want to add the whole container. It doesn't get much simpler than this. And like I said before, if you don't like chocolate, you can do lemon or strawberry, pistachio, butterscotch, which I mentioned would be fabulous. That would be really, really good. And you just want to fold it in. And it gets a kind of light color like mousse would. And just stir it in. Now, one thing I like to do sometimes, I don't have it today, but Sometimes I like to put fruit on top of these little pies too, and I'll explain when I put the mint on. The thing about chocolate mousse, it goes well with raspberries, even mandarin oranges would go really, really well because orange and chocolate go great together. Strawberries would go really, really well. So after you mix it, we're going to just take a little bit inside of each of the pie shells, just like so. And it'll thicken even more as it sits. So you can make these a little bit early in the day and let them sit in the refrigerator. If you were to do lemon, that would be great for the summertime. Lemon and raspberry or strawberry lemonade pies. Sounds very good to me. Little dollop in each. And you can either fill it up or almost fill it up. It depends on if you want to put anything on top, like berries or anything, because you don't want it to overflow with the weight of your berries if you were using them. There you go. And then you want to take your mint leaves, because they look pretty. They're not really for taste, they're just for visual appeal. Put it on top. Maybe I should use a little more stem so it can sit up a little bit better. There you go. And like I said, if you had strawberries or mandarin orange slices or raspberries, it would be even prettier. There you go. You're done. Dessert is done. And you're a gourmet chef. So we're going to go ahead and add the tarragon and the Dijon mustard to our sauce. So this is 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard. You don't want to use regular mustard. You need the little bit of kick from the Dijon mustard. Just add your tarragon. And remember, that was about 2 tablespoons. I had a little bit extra, so I didn't add all of it. I add a little bit more though. And at this point, even though the chicken has salt and pepper, you want to go ahead and add a little bit more to your sauce. Remember, cream doesn't have a lot of flavor. And that's what's in here. You want to make sure that your sauce is as flavorful as possible, so that's good. And you can serve this with wild rice pilaf, pasta, brown rice, whatever you like, so that it can pick up all these nice juices and your chicken. So we're going to go ahead and take our chicken and add it to our sauce. And everything is really coming together. You can smell the tarragon and the Dijon mustard, the white wine, everything smells so good. There we go. And I can actually get rid of this. We're going to grab a couple of serving bowls and plates. You really want to make it fun. I like to serve things family style. So if you notice, like I have these on a platter, we'll put maybe 2 or 3 pieces of chicken on the platter. And the soup, of course, is going to be served individually. But it's more fun that way, especially if you're having guests over. They can sit around the table and you can pass the plates around and everybody can just take what they like. I'm just going to flip this over. As the chicken cooks, the sauce will thicken just a little bit. If you wanted a sauce that was thicker, it's totally up to you. You can make what we call a cornstarch slurry, which is just a little bit of cornstarch mixed with some of the pan juices, maybe a tablespoon and a couple tablespoons of the liquid. And then you just want to pour it in here and let it thicken up. But it's totally up to you. I tend to like the consistency of this sauce, but if you wanted it more like a gravy, when it can really stick to rice or pasta, then you can always do that. Just little tidbits that you want to keep in mind. It's totally up to you. Cooking is fun like that because you can improvise and do what's best for you and your guests. You don't have to do what everybody else does. It's your artistic interpretation that makes it great. So we're going to check out our soup again. And you can see it has gotten so creamy and so thick and so delicious. It smells great. Nice big chunks of crab meat in here, or lumps of crab meat in your soup. And incidentally, I meant to mention this earlier. I did use black pepper. Some people, when they're making cream-based things like this, use white pepper so you don't have the little black specks of pepper in your soup. It's totally up to you. I mean, there's so many other spices in the soup that for this, it wouldn't really matter to me. But if you didn't want those black specks, go ahead and use white pepper. You can definitely do that. Alrighty, so let's grab a ladle because we have to ladle this bad boy up. It smells so good. Some cute little bowls here. Feel free to play around at your buffet if you have your friends coming over. Nice colorful dishes to put everything in. I'm gonna put a couple ladles in here, which is a nice serving size. This bowl right here. I would serve this as it is, but if you wanted to serve it with crackers or cheddar biscuits or anything like that, feel free to do so. Because here we're actually serving it with an entree. If you were just going to do it with, by itself, then of course you want to serve some type of bread with it or salad or something like that. There's your soup. And it looks delicious. So let's check out this chicken over here. It's coming together. It's really, really roll and boil going on here. I think it's just about done. You want to be careful with chicken. If you want to test for doneness, you can always use a thermometer, which is the best thing to do. A thermometer needs to register 165 for the internal temperature, the thickest part of your chicken. That's when you know it's ready. Let's go ahead and plate this up. Another piece. A little bit of your sauce. Let me grab something else. I don't have anything else. I'll just use my tongs. And we are just about done. A little bit of tarragon on top. There you have it. Chicken with tarragon, Dijon mustard, and white wine. Thank you for watching Rock Your Block and today's segment of Cooking with Chef Lynnette. Our time is up and we have enjoyed being invited into your home or place of business. I'm so glad that you folks at home could join me today, and I hope you will try our recipes during your next dinner. I look forward to returning to host another culinary segment right here on Rock Your Block and sharing with you the joys of cooking and eating. Please tune in weekly for my exciting segment, Cooking with Chef Lynnette. Have a great week. Bye-bye.